how I feel. Why would you say that? Like, you put me in such an uncomfortable situation. Like, you know I'm not happy. You know I'm trying to see if it'll work out here, and I know that it's...
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are undertaking a really close analysis of identity and reputation.
And specifically, the sheer effort it takes to build a new life when the shadow of your past just refuses to lift.
Exactly. We're working with a single, highly detailed source document, and it's centered on a character we know as Greg.
Right.
And this document tracks his efforts to redefine himself at university. He's trying to get an education, but he's also just desperately trying to grapple with the seismic fallout from a huge scandal.
A scandal that left some very deep scars back at a place called Lawson College.
So our mission today, then, is to really map out the tension between two opposing forces here.
Yeah, on the one hand, you've got his internal ambition. That's who Greg desperately wants to become.
A person of rigor, of intellectual understanding.
And on the other hand, you have his external reputation. Basically who everyone else already thinks he is, based on a story he just can't control anymore.
So we're going to be looking at how new structures, community, and the long, sticky reach of scandal all intersect in his life.
And it really proves that sometimes the weight of a name is heavier than the man who carries it.
That is the core conflict. We're dropping in on what's supposed to be Greg's fresh start, but it's clear his university enrollment is, well, it's less a blank slate and more just a continuation of a haunted life.
The shadow of that betrayal from Lawson College is just everywhere. You see it in every decision he makes, every path he chooses.
So let's unpack that. Where does he start? What are the first frameworks he tries to use for healing?
Well, the first thing we notice is how he seeks structure in the physical realm, which, is a really interesting psychological reaction to moral chaos.
What do you mean by that?
Well, when your world feels out of control, you often gravitate toward environments with clear rules, right? With defined success and tangible outcomes.
And you see that desire for clarity immediately. He's walking through the university sports facilities, and he sees this famous quote painted high up on the wall.
The Nelson Mandela quote.
Yeah. Sport can create hope where once there was only despair. And the source tells us it resonates really deeply with him.
And what's crucial here is the history. For Greg, this quote doesn't just resonate, it actually triggers a memory of his old life in a place called House Da Vinci.
Back before the scandal.
Exactly. Back then, sport wasn't just healthy exercise for him. It was his sanctuary. It was the one space where discipline and teamwork and clear boundaries, well, they provided a kind of moral compass that the rest of his life lacked.
It offered defined success and failure, a sort of justice that he couldn't find anywhere else.
Right. And now, at university, that physical discipline is actually imposed on him.
It's part of his degree, mandatory participation in athletics, swimming, and soccer. And then beyond that, he has a choice.
A choice between cricket, hockey, or rugby.
And we learn that rugby, specifically, still has this incredible pull on him.
He loves the raw physicality of it, the strategy, the need for absolute focus. But here we find the first kind of bitter irony.
Because rugby is what connected him to the very people and the very environment where the scandal happened in the first place.
It's a total double-edged sword that he just keeps picking up.
It's the embodiment of cognitive dissonance, isn't it? He's drawn to the clarity of the game.
But the game reminds him of the utter lack of clarity, of the instant destruction of his life.
It's this painful reminder of just how quickly everything can be stripped away, leaving those scars totally exposed.
Precisely. He's trying to use the old tools of discipline to fix a fundamentally new problem of moral failure. But the source makes it really clear that this focus on physical performance is actually secondary.
There's a profound intellectual shift happening inside him.
A huge one.
And this feels like the critical turning point in his ambition. Because despite studying sports science, his true, all-consuming interest has moved entirely to the mental realm, to psychology. Why is that so significant?
Because it represents a shift from trying to find atonement through action to finding it through understanding.
So he's not just interested in running faster or tackling harder anymore.
Not at all. He doesn't just want to understand the mind of an athlete who's trying to optimize performance. His interest has become intensely focused on people, on trauma, and on the fundamental moral architecture of choice.
He wants to know why. Why individuals make decisions that lead to betrayal or destruction.
So he's not just studying a subject. He's basically reverse engineering the psychological source code of the pain that was inflicted on him.
And maybe the pain he caused others, too. It's a profound act of self-analysis. but it's cloaked as an academic pursuit.
It is. If you connect them to the bigger picture, this kind of intellectual deep dive often signals an attempt to regain control. If he can name the mechanism of betrayal, maybe he can rationalize it. Maybe he can contain it.
Move the trauma from being this overwhelming emotional experience to a manageable intellectual problem.
Exactly. But while his mind is engaged in this deep intellectual combat, his body is trying to do the opposite. It's attempting self-exile.
And that struggle is made so visible by the university environment itself. It presents this striking paradox when it comes to conformity.
It really does. The uniform here is the great equalizer. Everyone wears the same black shorts and maroon and gray t-shirts.
Which creates this powerful, almost immediate sense of forced unity, anonymity.
And Greg's reaction to this is just fascinating. He finds it both profoundly comforting and at the same time deeply unsettling.
So on one hand, he physically blends in. He looks exactly like everybody else.
But on the other, the source tells us he never, ever feels truly part of the group. The uniform covers his body, but it can't mask his name or his history.
But isn't that anonymity itself a kind of trap?
How so?
Well, by blending in physically, he sort of lowers his guard. He feels safe, but he's standing much closer to the very people he fears.
Making the eventual inevitable recognition even more painful when it happens.
Right. He's actively trying to enforce self-exile while living cheek by jowl with the community. That dual existence must be utterly exhausting.
Emotionally isolated, even as he's physically integrated. And we see his friend, Chloe, trying to break down that isolation.
Constantly inviting him out.
Constantly. We learn she's asked him to go out partying almost 10 times already. She's trying to pull him back into a normal, messy social reality.
Which is exactly what he needs.
And also exactly what he fears.
He just keeps finding excuses. That internal conflict is palpable. You can feel the human desire to belong, to reconnect, fighting against this equally strong, self-imposed need to stay invisible.
To avoid the risk of re-engagement, he knows that participating in social life means risking exposure.
And the risk isn't just, a bit of awkwardness. The risk is that permanent, catastrophic rejection he experienced before.
His whole strategy right now is based on the idea that if he just stays small and quiet, the past can't find him.
Which leads us to the pivotal moment in the source material. The critical point where his fortress of isolation finally shows a crack.
It's his friend Planck. Planck tells him he's met someone special, a woman named Lisa.
And for the first time, Planck sounds genuinely serious about a relationship.
And this little piece of normalcy, this hope of friendship and new beginnings, it acts like a momentary beacon for Greg.
He's curious, maybe even hopeful that if Planck can move forward, he can too.
So he agrees to go along when Planck makes the introduction. And this single decision, this one risk to re-engage with a normal social right, it has immediate and devastating repercussions.
And the greatest irony is in the setup. They arrive, and Lisa is there, standing next to her father, who is leaning casually against a Hilux pickup truck.
It sounds completely normal, like a typical Meet the Parents intro.
Until Greg steps into the frame.
And this is where reputation just asserts its authority over reality. The moment Greg steps closer, the entire atmosphere just snaps.
The source focuses so keenly on the father's face.
You see the recognition flash across his features instantly. The smile is gone. The father knows exactly who Greg is.
All of Greg's careful strategies, the uniform, the discipline, the academic deep dive, they're all instantly nullified.
By one face, one single moment of realization.
And the power dynamic is immediately established. The father isn't reacting to Greg the person or Greg the student.
No, he's reacting to Greg the narrative. He holds all the power in that interaction because he holds the key to the past.
It must be an overwhelming feeling for Greg, realizing he is still standing in the blast radius of what happened at Lawson College, even miles and years away.
The tension becomes instantaneous, oppressive.
And the source material is, well, it's quite chilling about the outcome. The father doesn't need theatrics. He doesn't yell. He doesn't even raise his voice.
He just delivers a quiet, clear, and absolutely final warning to Greg.
Stay away from his daughter.
And that quiet finality is the most profound lesson Greg receives in this entire deep dive. It just sympathizes the implication of his entire existence.
His surname carries a weight he cannot escape, a toxicity that precedes him.
It doesn't matter that he's studying psychology, that he's seeking discipline, or that he's trying to be a better person. Before he even has a chance to speak, his past is right there with him.
Shaping how this new person sees him and dictating the future of that interaction. He's judged on a history he can't outrun, no matter how fast he tries to run.
Yeah.
So let's synthesize the findings of this deep dive.
Yeah.
We've watched Greg attempt to regain control over his life through layers of imposed structure.
The discipline of sport, the anonymity of the uniform, and the intellectual rigor of psychology.
Focusing specifically on trauma
Mm-hmm.
and betrayal, and yet every single attempt he makes to build a new identity or even just achieve temporary normality is constantly undermined.
It's undermined by this inescapable external reputation that just gets there before he does.
So what does this all mean for you, our listener?
The sources powerfully demonstrate the incredible, almost inescapable power of a past narrative to dictate future interactions. Greg's journey shows that transformation can't just be an internal event.
It has to be acknowledged and accepted by the external world, too.
And the external world, in this case, actively refuses to let him move on. The stain of the scandal remains visible, and it dictates the terms of engagement everywhere he goes.
It's a harsh, definitive end to his attempts at blending in. We see the consequence of his failed social risk, and it confirms his deepest fear.
That visibility equals judgment.
Yes.
And that confrontation, it crystallizes the true focus of his ambition, his initial desperate search for structure through physical performance.
That's now completely superseded by the intellectual, analytical pursuit of psychology.
Absolutely.
And as we leave him grappling with this unyielding shadow and his failure to achieve social redemption, we're left to wonder. If the external world consistently refuses to let him move past the scandal, will his intense analytical deep dive into psychology ultimately be an attempt to heal others? Or is it an intense analytical effort to heal himself?
That's something for you to mull over as you navigate the narratives, both public and private, in your own life.